Hey, it's Leilani, and I am super excited to be with you guys today. One thing I really want to talk on today was believing so that you can see it, right? We live in this funny world where everybody's waiting to see things before they believe it. And what I mean by that is if you're new to my channel, first off, I'm a mom of nine, and so I've got a lot going on. I've been doing manifestation laws, working with manifestation laws for a good portion of my life, over 25 years. And so I've witnessed a lot of amazing things. And one thing I found is a lot of people are looking to see things before they believe them. And when you're working with the metaphysical laws or manifestation laws or the law of attraction, whatever you want to call it, it's all kind of in the same conglomerate. You must first come into the place of believing. And that is actually where the seeing does happen. So I'm going to give you some examples. I'll start with one example of years and years ago when my older children were much younger, and I only had five, four, six. Oh my goodness! I take into account how many children I had. It tells me what point in life I was at. So at the time, I had six kids. Actually, I had five, and I was having six. And yes, I know some people are like, you may have your opinion about why I have so many children, but the reality is I've done physical efforts to try to stop becoming impregnated, and it didn't work anyway. So whether my desire overran that or God had a bigger plan, it doesn't really matter. This is where my spiritual beliefs and literal scientific quantum physics do collide and prove that there's something more. Um, I did have two IUDs, and I still ended up pregnant. So, whatever. It is what it is. Um, and not at the same time, of course, with two separate children. And with my eighth child, they actually thought I was going into menopause, and I ended up having a baby. And the same thing happened with my ninth. So here we are, all these children later. But having all these kids, it definitely has given me the opportunity to exercise these laws. And so with that, one instance I'm going to tell you about when I was a younger mother, if you have children, or if you are familiar with children, you understand how difficult it can be to keep the space clean, because they always want to touch everything and pull everything down and get their hands in everything, right? And my oldest, I think, was 12 at the time. And so must have been about 11 or 12 years ago, because he's 23 now. Um, and I was having a hard time keeping the home clean, and I was pregnant, and a lot was going on in my life. And um, I was learning to work with angels. I was doing a lot of work with angels. And with that, one of the things that they had taught me, or were telling me, was that if you want to see it, you have to believe it first. And I thought that only applied to, like, actually seeing them, seeing into the other realms, seeing auras and different colors. But what I found was that actually it had to do with everything, because everything is energy vibrating at different frequencies. And that's how we create material, on this plane of existence. So, and this is physics. It's not even like made up stuff. Everything is energy. And if you don't know that, go and study more science. Or if you need more evidence, go study some quantum physics, and start really looking into what they found inside of an atom when they broke it down. Because these scientists, they're brilliant, but they're simply proving that these manifestation laws actually work and exist. So, as a mother with all these young children, my house would sometimes just become a tornado. And, I had all these little tornadoes. There were five of them. Plus, I was pregnant, so I felt like I could barely move. And they're just sweeping through the house, just being super destructive. So it seemed in my mind and in my eyes, right? So that's what I believed. So that's what I saw. Make sense? And when I was working with the angels, one day I walked into my living room. I walked out of my office, turned the corner, looked in my living room, and it was just a wreck. And I had one of those great rooms where you could see the living room, the dining room, and the kitchen. You could see all the way to the kitchen sink pretty much from the front door, and then turn and see all the way into the living room like it was one big great room all connected. And I was just beside myself because it was such a wreck. And I was like, what? um and the craziest thing happened actually is I heard the angels tell me, like, not so much in my ears audibly, because that's not how I hear angels. I had a knowing. I'm claircognizant, and I had a knowing, and it was like, if you want to see it, you must first believe it. And I was like, what? And they're like, you have to see. I understood. I had to see the space as I wanted it to be. So I had to see the living room clean. I had to see the kitchen clean. I had to see the sink empty of dishes, and I had to be in my mind. It already had to be done. It already had to be done. And it didn't happen overnight. It wasn't like all of a sudden, boom, it was clean. It was a training of my mind. Actually, it was an exercise that I had to put myself through. And every time I would walk into the room, I'd have to see it clean. And I would just go into this place of seeing it clean. And it was probably the third week in, and this might seem like a long time, but the funny thing about God is this, is he never works as quick as you want, but always faster than you expect. So just when you think that this is not working, all of a sudden it's like, oh, ta-da, it works, right? Um, I turned the corner, and my son, my third child, who's actually probably my most stubborn of my lot, just because he has very strong um, opinions of how things should function. He's just a very strong soul, which is great, and I wouldn't want to change it. But when you're young, when they're young and you're learning, and they're trying to overrun things, and it can be a challenge. Point is this: I turn the corner, and he's picking up the living room. I didn't ask him to. I think that was the most amazing part, is I didn't say anything to him. I literally was witnessing me holding the expectation that it would happen, and it did. And I think that was the most amazing thing, is that it did happen. And so um my believing became seeing, and that changed everything for me. That was like a game changer, and I started to understand that if you really want to see things, you got to believe it first, right? It's not just going to be given. It Evidence shows comes to those who believe. And so that's what happened. And that was one of the experiences that I had. So if as a mom, you're struggling with your kids to keep it clean, or a parent, or whatever in life, if you're wanting just to change things in your life, allow yourself to see it as you really want it before it appears. Don't look at the evidence and say, oh, this is what it is, because you're actually amplifying it and going to make it more of that. If you look at the scenario and say, this is what I want it to be, and you hold the intention and you hold the expectation, and you live in a joyful place, not being all pissy if it's not, what you're going to find is it will shift. It will shift. It has to. By the laws of attraction, the laws of manifestation, and materialization, which is evidence of, it's in science, whatever you put out is going to receive. And if I need to break that down just a little bit more, let's just think about, if anybody's a gardener, if you take eggplants and you plant them out in your garden and you expect to yield radishes, then you're just being foolish. Let's just be honest. If you want something, you have to put that out there in order to receive it, right? The universe is like this big soil pot, and we can put whatever we want into it. And so whatever you're putting into it is you're going to get out. And so if you're putting negativity, if you're putting defeat, hopelessness, helplessness, I don't know what I can do, this thought of, oh, damsel in distress or whatever, it's going to amplify, and that's what you're going to reap. If you want better things, put that out there. Put out success, hope, happiness, helpfulness, and even encouragement and belief that it can, and you will start seeing avenues. Things will start to reveal themselves to you. Okay, so Believing is seeing. Don't wait to see it. Believe it and then see it. So, for what that's worth, my much love to you. My name is Leilani. If you're looking for more assistance, you can find me on my blog. Love you. Bye.